somebody had shaved his head. He got to boot camp. That sergeant said, "Get in the chair." And that barber said, "Brrrr," all over his head. He didn't have a hair on his head, but he sat in the chair.
He was going to go through the motions anyway, huh?
That barber went through the motions.
In case there was one left.
Oh, I remember that.
And they cut
Get
off.
in the chair.
How short did they cut your hair? Was it gone?
Mm.
It was gone. They cut your curls off.
Mm.
Did your mama cry?
Mm.
I bet she did. I don't
I
know.
mean, as close as that pair of clippers would cut your head, it's like shearing sheep. They sit there and say, "Brrrr," next. And
Y'all
they
were
did
a bunch
that-
of sheep.
They did that every time I went to the barber shop. And we left Paris Island.
Red probably looked like a shadow.
Right? Redhead.
And I'm telling somebody, when I got out of boot camp, haircut was 50 cents. For half of it was 50 cents.
We got them for free on board the ship.
Well, while we in boot camp, you pay for nothing. You ain't
Yeah.
have money.
When I remember we did the men tour, they'd open up the barber shop like Tuesdays and Thursdays for 2 hours. I mean, we only had 320 guys on that ship.
Oh, shit.
It was small.
Yeah, it's called a small boy. But that was an old ship. That was not. It was
We
built
had-
in the 50s. In fact, it was built probably the same year our house was. 59.
Were y'all allowed to go to the barber on board the ship?
No.
Because he said they would cut the water off.
They
For
cut,
the-
we'd be out in the field for 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time. Come back to the ship, and they cut the fresh water off to the marine side of the ship.
Who
They wouldn't
did?
let us- They
The
get
Navy
salt
guys.
water
The
all
Navy?
we
The
want.
Navy guys, on the Navy ship, they transport Marines on.
Oh, that's horrible.
That's horrible. You ain't kidding.
But that's what they do.
So you've been out in the boonies for 2 weeks. You know you smell like a polecat. And we come back.
Like coming out of the Grand Canyon. Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, stay out there 2 and 3 weeks.
Can't imagine.
We come back to the ship, and they would cut the fresh water off to the showers.
They thought that was funny?
Oh no, it wasn't. No. They didn't think it was fun.
They just thought that they weren't going to share their water with you.
They ain't gonna give us no fresh water. They cut fresh water off, cut salt water on. I mean, you could just shower in salt water all day long.
And you did.
Yeah. But we found we'd either find a valve and cut the water back on, and it wouldn't stay on long. And I don't know how they knew it. The water gauge in the compartment there, something I don't know. But somebody would come cut, and they put locks on them. They put locks, chains, and locks on the valves.
Wow.
Then we'd still take a saltwater shower and go to the cooler and get 2 canteens full of water and rinse off with 2 canteens full of water. Now, weren't we treated good?
That's
Wow.
horrible.
But we lived through it.
What ship were you on?
Our water always smelled like diesel fuel.
Honey, I don't know. On the ship I remember was a Monrovia. And it was a just been commissioned ship. And I guess that's the only reason I remember it. And we were probably the first troops that had been on this ship.
Oh,
it
so you
was-
got to break it in.
yeah, we got
Are you telling? So this is all going on in a brand new ship?
Oh, yes, James.
I just assumed that they didn't have enough water making ability. I mean, because ours was
That's just how they treated the Marines.
they'd make the water. They used they condensed the steam out of the boilers and made our water, and it always smelled. right? And they didn't have any bottled water. You just
No one was such thing.
so you we had but there was an endless supply of coffee and an endless supply of this. It was basically Kool-Aid, and they'd have it in these huge like milk coolers, and you'd walk up, milk was in a bag in a box.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we always had like juice coming out of those, right? You just go up and so that's it survived all day off of Kool-Aid because the water tasted. Oh, I mean, as soon as you bent down to the drinking fountain, this waft of diesel fuel would jump at you. It was like,
That's nasty.
oh.
Well, I was on the Boxer, which was a helicopter carrier, Marine Corps. It was a Marine Corps ship, but it was a small carrier, and all they had was Marine Corps helicopters on it. We were on that. And they put us down in the hold. And I don't know what hurricane storm it was. But I mean, it got rough, even for that carrier, it was rough.
Were you out at sea or tied to the pier?
We were out at sea.
Oof.
And that thing.
You sleep good though.
I don't know about that.
Oh.
But anyway, our foot lockers, wooden foot lockers, that we had right there in the compartment with us. And the foot locker would slide from this side of the bay.
And that's nauseating too.
The other side
Oh
of the
man.
bay. And I mean, sometimes a couple boys got hurt. They got hit with the foot lockers, here they come. And that shit was rolling here, rolling there. And it's an aircraft carrier. So it was rough. Yeah.
That's a
man.
lot of roll.
Yeah, well. Then the LSTs and the LSDs, I mean, they weren't nothing but soup cans out there bouncing around in the ocean.
Yeah, they're flat. I was on
They were flat.
USS Boulder at Naval Amphib, and I was there 2 years as a reservist. And you had this massive ship, and you didn't really have enough Navy guys to keep up with the work on this massive ship because most of the ship was area where you could carry Marines and equipment. And I was talking to the active duty guys, and they just said this is the worst possible command because we have this massive ship,
They don't have enough-
and we don't have it's a tiny crew, and it's just and they hated it. They hated us reservists because we took their time and oh man, but they're flat bottom. They can just go right up in that
Yeah,
shallow water,
Well, that's what they made for. They run up on the beach,
but they don't do
front
well
end
in
drop
ocean.
down, Marines kick us off. They come the tank behind us, if we had a tank with us.
How deep was the water? I imagine it was different every time, but
It was different, James. Sometimes it was chest high
yeah.
when you went off the front. Sometimes it was knee high. It just depends on how close they could get that boat to the shore that day. But a lot of time when you go in there, it rolls up to your chest. And the next time when you went off the front end of it, like I said, probably knee high. We never knew.
Splash.
Where did you go?
Anywhere in the Med, honey, if you start talking, Greece, Italy, Turkey. What's the island off of
Sardinia or Sicily?
Sicily,
Yeah.
off the bottom of Italy. And then islands that, we were there at those, but they dropped us off on some island that didn't have a name. And a month later, they come back and pick us up.
What'd you do for a month?
Oh, we played war games.
Okay.
And I don't know if I told you, I married her a dozen times, I know. They dropped us off on an island, and they had this escape and evasion program we were going through. So they give us, 3 boxes of sea rations, which is 1 day's worth of sea rations, a meal for each day, and tell you, you got 1 week So we got three boxes of sea rations to stay out there in the boondocks and try to stay away from the other people that are trying to capture you and put you into hoose cow. And our squad, there's about 13 of us, and we run up upon a cabin up in the mountains. In this cabin was a German architect. This was his summer home. This is where he left his job and he came to this island and lived in this cabin.
And he probably says, "Oh no, here they come again."
Hey, man. But he had just been hunting and shot a wild boar. And he invited us to have wild boar with him because he said he could never eat the whole wild boar. He would share it with us.
Wow.
So we had wild boar. He baked bread. He baked homemade bread.
Oh my
And
goodness.
he fed us bread and boar. Okay.
Y'all were eating good.
Oh, we were eating like little pigs, I'm gonna tell you that. And the next day, he had this little shack out back his little cabin, and that was his wine cellar. He had three, I'm gonna say 55-gallon drums. I don't know really what size they were, big drums, full of wine.
Oh wow.
And he said, "You boys can
That was-
help yourself."
Oh, God, I was gonna say that was not what you tell a bunch of Marines.
Oh boy.
That's right.
A bunch of 17, 18-year-olds.
Yeah, probably the oldest one with us is 20 years old.
And he was probably filming it. He said, "Oh, got me another bunch in here."
So everybody dumps the water out. We get 2 canteens full of wine. Then the next day,
Oh man.
we were some sick puppies. I'm gonna tell
Oh my god.
Right? You had a belly full of boar and wine.
you. Uh-huh.
And none of them have any sense.
Good thing you had some bread to sop it all up
Hard-headed
with.
Marines.
But we made it the whole week.
Mhm.
We made it the whole week.
You did
Yeah,
good
yeah.
to run into that guy. What if you hadn't ran into him? Y'all would have been hungry.
We've been hungry. We ate something.
You were hungry anyway, but
We
Not on those days.
We would have ate. Because on this island also there's a couple orchards. The orchards were off limits.
of course they were.
And so I mean, there's always people that there's always local people that live on these islands that had little farms and took care of this and took care of that. And they would always find out where the Marines were camping at. And they'd come around with eggs. The eggs were, and they loved sea ration cigarettes. And with every meal, there was a pack of sea ration cigarettes.
Oh, you
It was
could
4
trade
little
them.
cigarettes. And a lot of times it was Lucky Strikes, and they were so old that the paper had turned yellow. But I mean, it won't nothing fresh. I'm gonna tell you that. But
And
anyway, it was
our
cigarettes.
government feeds our Marines well, don't
Yeah,
they?
yeah, they fed the Marines. But anyway, you could give one of them local farmers a pack of cigarettes. You get 6 eggs. Yeah, we can just swap eggs for cigarettes.
That's a good deal.
And the some of the orchards had oranges. I mean, these oranges were as big as we get to see grapefruits at the store, right? These oranges were huge, great big orange, and the skins were real thick.
They were blood oranges.
I ain't got no idea. I don't know what they were all. And lemons, oranges and lemons on most of these islands that they got. Even the lemons were almost sweet. I mean, they had a lemon taste to them, they weren't
But
no
you could eat
bitter
'em.
You could eat them. They're all right. We eat them. And at nighttime, we were told, stay out of the orchard, stay out of the way. When the sun went down, they were like ants running that, going down to the darn orchards and getting, 3 or 4 oranges and that many lemons.
They never missed them.
No, they didn't miss them. But don't mess with the olive trees.
Oh.
And the olive trees were $1,000 fine if you broke a branch on the olive tree.
You know why?
Do I know why?
Yeah.
Oh, no.
When I went to Jerusalem,
Mhm.
we were standing on the steps of the Church of All Nations, and we looked down, and there was a mortared rock and iron garden,
Uh-huh.
and the tour guide was the driver of this Mercedes that had 450,000 miles on it, and he says that's the garden where Judas betrayed Jesus.
Mhm.
And I'm like, what are all these trees? And he says, they're olive trees. And I said, how old are they? And he says, they're 2,000 years old.
Olive trees can be very old.
So in the garden is a bunch of olive trees. So it was at that moment I connected the dots that the trees in the garden were there 2,000 years ago. And it was
They
just
were there
this,
with Jesus.
and it was just like, oh, it was that moment of where the skin stands up on your arms and you're just like, yeah. But they live forever.
Well, they make a lot. They're making, the olive oil, and what they're using, what they get from the trees. I mean, you go to the stores and you look at the price on olive oil, and you get the real stuff that's comes from over there.
It's pricey.
Yeah, it's pricey.
It's pricey.
Well, we didn't mess with the olive trees.
You don't want no
They
darn
did,
olives
yeah,
anyway,
we
huh?
Didn't, we didn't break no branches. I can tell you that. We may have lost some olives, but we didn't break no branches. Now, they dropped us, James, on the island, and they flew us up in the mountains of this island. And down the seaside, it was like warm. It was nice weather. Up in the mountains, it was cold and stuff up there. I mean, it was cold. And we stayed up in the mountains 2 weeks. And then we were supposed to come back down to the beach for 2 weeks. And we come back down to the beach, and there was a little stream coming out of the mountains. Just a little bit of water coming out of the mountains. We dammed off that stream. We made a dam, blocked the water, and the water started backing up. And we took baths.
Oh, yeah.
And where we had dammed the water up, we could get in there and get a bath.
That was
Oh,
smart.
that's smart.
Every time we would, stay anywhere for a couple of days, there was always,
Wasn't it cold though?
huh?
Wasn't it cold taking a bath in the?
I mean, we didn't care.
Didn't care.
It was clean water.
Yeah.
It was probably the snow melting out of the mountain. Cause we had to hoof it out of the mountain. They flew us up there, dropped us off, and then coming back we had to walk out.
Oh, it's easier walking down.
Oh yeah, it was easy walking.
They fly you in a helicopter.
Huh?
Helicopter.
Oh yeah, the helicopters dropped us off up in the mountains, and then we had to walk out of the mountains. Well, we got it. Like I say, we got back to the beach. And, we had set up our tents and everything. Somebody found that little stream that was running down. It was fresh water.
Yeah, spring, the really good water.
It was fresh water. I mean, we could drink it. But we dammed it off and made us a little bathtub.
You weren't gonna be stinking, huh?
And then we went down to the Caribbean a couple times. And there was an island off of Puerto Rico called Vieques. And Vieques was a shooting range for the aircraft. I mean, the airplanes. The airplanes used Vieques as a bomb site, dropped bombs, shot the island, and all that. Nobody lived in it. And Marine Corps had a small base. It was tents. The hot water was this great big 1,000-gallon drum sitting up on a stand. And if the sun heated it, it got warm. If the sun didn't hit it, you didn't have no hot water.
Well, it probably felt like that swimming pool.
Oh,
down
that's
there
right.
in
Yeah, oh,
Puerto
yeah.
Rico
Yeah,
when we
it
were down
was,
there.
most of the time, the water
That
was,
felt like a sauna.
was bearable. I mean, it was warm water.
Mm-hmm.
But that was our hot water while we were in Vegas. Our toilet facility was the Johnny House. And it had about 10 holes lined up in the Johnny House.
No
Really?
privacy, huh?
Oh man.
That was it. That was it.
Wow.
We didn't have the luxuries of being on the ship, going to the bathroom like the sailors did. We just sit down on them holes.
Get you a hole, get you your Sears catalog.
You holler at the boy down, pass me that paper. He's 3 holes down. Oh my.
You remember Nanny talking about the outhouse and the kittens
Berkeley.
when she was a little girl and that during the war, and she had a mama cat that had kittens out in the outhouse, and she went out there one morning and all the kittens were dead, and she came in and she said she cried and cried and cried. She said the Germans had came and she told her mama the Germans had killed my kittens.
I remember that now when you said that. But now,
so
see,
sad.
when we lived in Berkeley, we had a Johnny House. We didn't have inside plumbing until I was 11, 12 years old. We didn't have inside plumbing. And we lived in the city of Norfolk.
But didn't
Grandma Warrington
Ma
next door.
had plumbing?
Grandma Warrington, they lived next door.
And he said he spent the night over there a lot. 'Cause she cooked him breakfast and she had TV and she had a bathroom.
Yeah. You were smart.
Well, no, Granddaddy had died.
Oh.
And Grandmama was home all alone. And I had a paper route. So I was pushing 12 years old. I wasn't 12 years old, but I lied about my age.
Often.
Often, because you had to be 12 years old to have papers. Anyway, I got a morning route. And then I got another morning route. I had 2 morning routes, paper route. But I spent the night with Grandma. Because like I said, she was over there by herself. So I always spent the night. Grandma had in the bedrooms downstairs. She had a 2-story house, all the 2, but I don't know what the room was originally. But there, Grandmama had a big bed, and she had a little day bed over here on the side. That was me.
That was your
sleeping in
bed?
the day bed, yeah.
Aw.
But anyway, that clock would go off in the morning. I set it 4:30. And that clock wouldn't ring one time, and Grandmama was hollering at me, "Get up, boy, get up!" I ain't even ring half a time. But Grandma made sure I got out of bed, and I'd go deliver my papers, and I'd come home. I wouldn't go home. I'd come back to Grandma's house. Grandma would cook. I mean, she'd already cooked it. She'd
She
tell
was
me.
waiting for you.
And she had something different every morning. I mean, it was just something different. She didn't have bacon and eggs every day. I mean,
I remember you said
one day,
fish.
I got pancakes. I got hot cereal. I got fried spots in the
Fried
morning.
fish for breakfast.
Oh, yeah.
Mm.
Grandma had
I bet they were good. I
fried
never had any
fish
fried fish
every
for
day.
breakfast, but I bet they were good.
They would, when Granddad was still alive, when we'd go fishing, if we catch panfish, spots, and croakers, bring them back to the house. Now, we'd have a couple hundred. Wow. I mean, fishing was good, okay?
On the Elizabeth River.
No, Granddad would take that boat from the ferry dock and put that little motor on the back of it, and we'd go up the Elizabeth River, and we'd come back around to Ocean 2.
Okay, to
I
the
mean,
back.
that was a long
I was
haul.
gonna say, it seems like a long ways.
Well, it was. Think I can? Not me. I
That was
in the
fun.
I was in the boat and I was going fishing. Me and Granddaddy would fish and fill that trash can up.
And
That
you-
was our cooler. We didn't have a cooler. We just threw the fish in the trash can he had in the middle of the boat.
How'd she keep the fish when you brought that many home?
Me and Granddaddy and Grandma too. We were out in the backyard scaling fish, gut and scaling. Granddaddy would take that fish and cut him right down the middle and lay him open, flat. He'd be flat now. They would salt him down. Grandmama had crock pots, big crock pots sitting on the back porch. You'd put 2 layers of fish in there and put salt all over it. Put 2 layers of fish in there and put salt all over it. Put 2 layers of fish in there and put salt all over it. And she never had a top, really, that went on top of these crock pots. So it was always a piece of plywood or something. Then she set a cinder block on top of it. She said where the cats couldn't get in it.
Oh,
at night.
Lord. Oh,
But every night, Grandma would go out on the back porch and get 3 or 4 salt fish out. She'd bring them in the kitchen, and she would soak them in water overnight. And that got most of the salt off. Every morning she fried fish. I don't care what else she had. She had
She had the
fried fish until there wasn't no more fish in them crock pots.
that's like the bean pots, the ones that are made out of ceramic, the real heavy pots.
Yeah. And these were big. These were like 10-gallon pots.
You put a lot of fish in there.
Right, because if you look at crocks and if they got a number on the side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 10, that's how many gallons
Oh, okay.
that pot holds. You see a lot of 5-gallon. It's got 5. If it's an older crock pot, it'll have a 5 on it. That's the gallons. But Grandma, yeah, she would fry fish. But I got something. I had biscuits. I had corn. But I had everything in the world for breakfast.
Great, good.
And if I went home to Mama, I probably had cold cereal with the powdered milk.
Right.
Because she didn't buy milk. She bought powdered milk at that time. You could buy milk.
Because it was
in
cheaper.
Big cardboard
Yeah.
box and
Mix
just
it
add
up.
water to it, make your own milk. But Grandma, she had milk.
Yeah, because the real milk is
she had
good. The
eggs.
powdered milk is not. That's that blue milk. Looks blue when you mix it up.
Almost, yeah.
It's because it's transparent.
But your nanny, she made a mini gallon of that kind
Of
of
the
milk
powdered milk.
and put it on the table.
That's what,
And it never
that's what she
went
had
to
to
waste.
do.
It never went to waste.
She didn't have powdered milk when I was little though.
No.
By the time I came around, she bought me the real stuff.
Yeah.
That's great. That's grandkids though. I can give my kids powdered milk, but
Right.
my grandkids gonna get some store bought milk.
That's like I told Dennis a while ago. You know, Christine's nephew is out there in school, so he went with them last weekend when they went down to Arizona.
He's at the house right now.
Yeah, he was still there until Sunday. I think Cody said he has to go back to school Sunday.
Right.
And so I asked Dennis, I said, well, how did he get there? Because if you drive, it's 2 or 3 hours. He said, oh, he flew. I said, really? I said, that's like, what, 5 minutes? He said, well, it was one of those wheels up, wheels
and
down.
Wheels up.
Yeah, okay. He said he laughed. He said, and he said, and what's her name? Bonnie. Bonnie sent Autumn. Bonnie's Christine's mom. Sent Autumn a ton of money to pay for his flight.
And feed him.
Because what I said when he told me that he flew, I said, so who paid for that? His grandmama? He said, well, probably because she sent Autumn a ton of money to pay for his food and stuff. I said, well, she's a good grandmama.
Yeah, she is.
She's got 2 grandkids.
Mhm.
She's
Oh,
been
yeah.
taking care of them all her life, probably. So,
She spent a lot of money on
Yeah.
on her kids,
well, yeah.
her
And
kids, and her grandkids.
Well, I told Dennis, I said, well, here she is now. She's a widow. She's a widow now. She was left in very good
She got more
financial
money,
condition.
Oh, yeah.
She
Skip
sold-
was $1.5 million.
She sold that monster house and downsized to that 5,000 square foot down there. I I said, you know, what else has she got to do besides take Stephen to go on a cruise and, you know, go down to the Cavalier and stuff?
Steven.
It's,
They're like best friends, aren't they? Mom and
Stephen,
son.
hey, he goes, if his mom needs company,
Stephen goes.
you
Yeah.
know, Stephen's down at the Cavalier.
He's a good boy.
Yes, he is. He takes care of her. Or he goes
He
with
always
her.
looks so nice. He always dressed up so nice and preppy looking.
I know,
And,
he's very preppy,
You
isn't
know
he?
what?
Mm.
He's making a ton of money.
He is making a ton of
Oh,
money.
yeah.
When he
Big
got
time.
that real estate license,
That was a good gig for him.
Well,
his
he's
personality.
he's
Oh, yeah.
suited for it. I mean,
Yes.
he's got that Wesson.
He's just like
He-
Autumn.
he-
Can
you
I
know,
mean
the-
make
the-
friends with
he's
anybody.
a
The $1 Million Club.
You know,
Stephen's always in the $1 Million Club.
you
for
know,
selling
where she
real
sees
estate
it, she
and all.
sees his postings, Facebook, because that's his Facebook page now. It says real estate.
Yeah, I mean, I like Stephen.
I mean,
I
if
think
I
he's
was
a little
about,
funny, but I like him.
I like him too.
he's a nice man. He's
re-
a very nice man.
He's real safe. When I went to the
Wedding.
to their wedding, me and Stephen, we just spent a lot of time
They
together.
hung out, yeah.
We hung out. He was just as friendly. We could bob up and down in the inner tubes and talk about all the art stuff. And
Oh, he's into arts. Yeah, he's yeah. Periodically, he'll have a picture of a new one that he's bought. You know, whatever it is, and it's like, I don't know that name. I guess it's somebody special.
well, tell me, what happened when Granddaddy died? What
Which means that
Warrington? What did he die from? So you said you were what, 11, 10, 11?
Yeah, 10, 11 years old when Granddad died. When you say that, honey, I mean, specifically, I couldn't tell you what he died.
I just didn't remember. I didn't know if you just remembered like he had been sick for a while or he just died.
No, he won't say. When the ferry boat stopped running, okay, when the tunnel opened up, the ferry boat stopped running. Granddaddy was still collecting tolls for the ferry boat, and he went to work for the tunnel people.
Don't judge me.
Granddaddy went to work for the tunnel people, and he was.
At the downtown tunnel?
Well, that was the only tunnel.
Yeah. When it was a quarter to go through there or whatever.
It was-
I know it wasn't a quarter then,
Probably
but
wasn't that.
No,
Probably didn't have a toll. when it
a
was
nickel.
opened.
I don't remember specifically whether it had a toll or not. But anyway, when they opened the tunnel up,
What year
he was off of the job
that?
with the
Early
tunnel.
50s.
53, 54, some in the early 50s, yeah. So he went to work for the tunnel people, and he only worked like 3 or 4 months. And he said that he couldn't stand being under the Elizabeth River in the tunnel. With all the cars running through there and the smoke in there and how bad it smelled. So he retired. And I don't think he got his first retirement check before he died.
oh, that's
He
sad.
must have had a heart attack. I mean, it kind of sounds like a heart attack, doesn't it?
I mean, he
Something
wasn't
quick.
sick.
Yeah.
He wasn't sick. It may have been, I really don't.
I mean, he wasn't even old.
No, I doubt it. Granddaddy was old. You know, because he, like I say, just retired. He was, old enough to retire. He was probably old enough to retire from the ferry boat.
Ferry.
people. I see pickup truck going real slow.
I know it. That's why I was trying to say, I couldn't see where it looked like it was trying to turn or park or
Oh,
something.
maybe so. He might be out front of the house for all I know.
Might be
I
somebody.
can't see.
Your neighbors across the street have company.
Oh, yeah, they
It
got a lot
could
of
be.
time.
Could be
They
somebody
were
over there.
carrying chairs in the house
Brian's
while
house.
ago. But Grant, because when Daddy died, that was 1948.
Yeah, I heard the door.
48.
1948 when Daddy died. And Granddaddy. They must be going over to Brian's house.
Yeah.
I mean, they're not from-
Oh, I see somebody walking up to the back of the house.
Uh-huh.
They ain't coming to see us.
Yeah, because it
That would
looked
have been a
like-
nice surprise.
because the truck looked like it turned,
It's a
to come this way.
silver Ford.
Can you imagine? Like if Dennis just showed up, that'd be such a good surprise. I mean, I'm not saying he is. He didn't tell me he was coming,
I
but
just talked to him.
yeah. But when you're talking about somebody's pulling up, that would be like, oh,
But when Grant,
And Mama wouldn't even be here to blow the surprise.
well,
If, she said if somebody would come in here like a surprise, like if it was Dennis, like the time that he told her he was coming home.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
she blew the surprise.
yeah, Mama couldn't keep secrets.
Not good anyway.
Not good. So you said when your dad died
In 1940.
in 48, and granddaddy what?
I don't
You
know
were telling me something.
Yeah, I
And
know.
granddaddy, he was
Well,
working.
Granddad Warrington was next door. Granddad Warrington, you know, he really, he became the mentor to me anyway.
Sure. What about Uncle Bill? Or was he? He wasn't that much older than you, so he was still.
5 years older. So, you know, I was probably 5
Mhm.
when Daddy died. So Bill was 10 and Becky was about 14, 15, something like that.
Yeah. And Linda was a baby.
And Linda was three, 4 months
I know
old.
she was a
was
baby.
yeah.
I can remember the story.
Mama would say, I don't remember, but Mama would say, we went to church every Sunday. Said Daddy was going to go to church. Snow and blowing, hail and what. We didn't have a car, but he was still going to church. And we sat on the front pew. Mama said that was William's
Aw.
seat on the front pew.
Maybe because he could see.
Well, that may have been
Yeah.
because he was legally blind
Mhm.
from getting the plaster in his eyes. They were doing some work. They got the plaster has a lot of lime,
Uh huh.
and it burned his eyes. And I mean, Mom said for a while he was blind.
Wow.
And then when he got Mom said he could see a little bit.
Mhm.
And she said that's when he was going to join the fire department. And he got an eye chart from somewhere. And he memorized the eye chart.
Is that funny? You never heard that?
No.
You ain't never heard that one? honey?
I always thought
Yeah,
that was
Mama said,
that's
Mama
so funny.
said I would stand in the kitchen with that eye chart, and William would stand at the front door in the hallway, you know, long hallway through, and said all I had to do was point on that chart, so he could tell me what it was. When I got down there to them little numbers, I could point. He still knew what it was, 'cause he had that thing memorized.
That's classic.
That shit, he went down to take the test for the fire department, had to take a physical exam. So he passed the physical exam, but he failed the eye test. They had changed the eye chart.
Oh, that was wrong.
Mama said he was so upset because they didn't
He
have the eye
was.
chart that he had memorized.
I thought it was always the same eye chart.
I don't know. I'm
That's
just,
funny.
you know what Mama said. There ain't no telling where he got an eye chart from to start with.
That was
And then
smart.
he said, Mama, Daddy got him trying to grow the mushrooms.
No.
Oh my! So they were living in. They wanted a house on Westmoreland Street. No, I don't even know if any kids were born or not. I don't know. But anyway, Mama said he got this bright. He always has some bright ideas. See,
He was an entrepreneur.
Yeah, he was. He's gonna grow mushrooms and sell mushrooms because he could make some money selling mushrooms.
Okay. They were a
He
delicacy.
took the back bedroom and said he put some tar paper down on the floor. And he brought in horse manure and dirt and, and spread it out all over the floor in the bedroom. and he's trying to grow mushrooms.
You never heard this one either?
Uh-uh.
And then Mama said 2 or 3 little teeny mushrooms popped up. He said he couldn't get no more to grow, so he opens the window and starts shoveling the stuff out the window. Mama said the prettiest crop of mushrooms popped up outside the house. I needed some fresh air and sunshine, I guess. I don't know. But Mom said it was a bunch of mushrooms out on the outside the house.
Maybe he needed to be a little more patient with his mushrooms.
Yeah. And they were living on Virginia Beach Boulevard,
Where the Shoney's was.
where the old Shoney's is, and there's a 7-Eleven store, right?
Yeah.
Is it Newtown?
Yes, Newtown and
Is
the
Newtown? Yeah, Newtown.
And the
Where
boulevard.
the interstate comes off.
Right, that's Newtown. It's Newtown and Virginia Beach Boulevard.
right there where
Mama
the
said they were
7-Eleven
living
is.
upstairs in this apartment
Uh-huh.
over top of the store. Said it was cold that one. And said William, he was picking up trash wood all up and down the streets anywhere he could find a piece of wood to burn, and probably didn't have enough money to buy much coal. When we bought it, it lasted a little bit, and then it run out. We didn't have no more money. He goes up in the attic and starts pulling up the floorboards in the attic.
Oh, no.
And burning the floorboards out of the attic to stay warm. And Aunt Liddy was living with them.
Oh, Aunt Liddy lived with them for a long time then,
Well,
huh?
on and off.
Okay.
Aunt Liddy was living with them when they were living in there on
Uh-huh.
over top of the store. And then Aunt Liddy, she was back in Elizabeth City, and then Aunt Liddy came to live with Mama full time.
At Chicks Beach.
And at Chicks Beach, that's right. Mama taking all
the strays. She took us all
the
in.
strays, anybody.
So Aunt Liddy, how was she?
That was Granddad Baker's sister.
Okay. She was married and her husband went to the store for some cigarettes and never came back. Isn't that right?
Yeah.
And that's when she came and lived with Nanny? At some point after that? Yeah, he just went to the store for some cigarettes and was like, I'm going to keep on walking.
I think I'm going to keep on going. I ain't going back.
But she didn't have any kids.
That's sad.
Mom would tell a story about Daddy, even before they got married. But anyway, one time, Daddy was down in Elizabeth City, and that's where Granddad Baker lived. And now he lived on a barge, an old barge that was sunken up close to the land. Granddad Baker lived on the barge.
Did he build a house on the barge?
Yeah, he built a shack, lived in a shack, house, whatever you want to call it. It's probably a shack.
I come from a fine line of people.
Resourceful people.
So classy.
Granddad Baker, William's daddy was coming through Elizabeth City. So.
My granddaddy was a bootleggers.
Oh, yeah, we won't tell about Mary's granddaddy.
You come from an even better line of people.
I'll tell you some stories about him too in a minute. But anyway, Mama said, Granddaddy invited William to have dinner with him. And Daddy said, oh, he was so excited. And Granddaddy told Dad, we're going to have some deer meat. And Dad, oh, man, venison. We're going to have venison for dinner. Man, I'm living high on the hog. And said they sit down to eat. There was a pot of collards and some fatback on the table. And then they asked him, well, where's the deer meat? He said, that dear old salt pork is what we have.
Dear old salt pork. Oh, and they're comedians, huh?
Yeah, man, they said, well, that's some dear old salt pork in them collard greens, boy. Mama said, now, when Granddad Baker was a young man, Elizabeth City, said he had, I'll take you a big piece too.
See how they do that.
Mama said that there was a theater, yeah, kind of like the the burlesque show a little bit. Kind of risque show that they had in downtown Louisville City. And said, Granddad Baker, he would come in through the back window and go upstairs. And he could peek through the curtains or the cracks or whatever, and he could see.
For free.
Yeah, free.
'Cause he
done
was
sneak
cheap. 'Cause he
in
was
the back of the bed, and he ain't going in front, don't pay no money.
It all looks the same, whether it's up front or.
My mama said one night, and he just sneaked in the theater, and he's up in his favorite spot watching the show, and he falls through the floor. He fell through the ceiling. I said the floor. He just slipped and fell through the ceiling.
his leg?
No, but the policeman come and got him. Oh, yeah, we come from a couple. Oh, James, Granddad, he would take me fishing. He had a rowboat there at the ferry dock. And that rowboat, it stayed about half sunk half the time, because it was just tied up there at the dock. It would rain, it'd fill up with water. And he'd tell me, Tommy, we're gonna go fishing. Okay. I knew I had to go to the ferry dock, climb down the ladder, and have a 5-gallon bucket, and I'd step on the rowboat and I'd start throwing the water out. I had to bail the boat out.
Of course.
That was my job, to bail the boat. I'd bail it with that 5-gallon bucket till I couldn't get no more. Then I had a gallon pail or something, and I'd get the rest of it out. And by the time evening rolled around, because we fished a lot in the evening, the boat was, it was dry. Granddad put his motor on the back of it. And Grandmama would make dough balls. I don't know how she made them, okay. But she made dough balls, about small marbles. They were always round, about the size of a small marble. And that's what we used for bait. We put that dough ball on that hook.
I've never heard of that.
Oh, yeah. We caught plenty of fish with dough balls. But we used to go out in the evening where the ballpark is right now in Norfolk. Right past the ballpark is a train trestle. And Granddad, he loved to go to the train trestle to go fishing. We go to the train trestle, he'd tie a boat up to one of the piling, and we'd sit there right under the train trestle, and we'd catch rockfish one right after the other. I mean, these rockfish were 2 foot long.
Wow.
And all we had was a hand line, didn't have no rod and reel. And he would get on me, because when you bring the fish up, you're supposed to lap the big one.
You're supposed to what?
You're supposed to take that line and lap it across your lap.
Really?
Oh yeah, because if you just pulled it up.
I've never seen this. I've never heard this.
Wait a minute. What is that?
Fix your hair.
Oh, don't mess my hair up.
I'm fixing it. It was poking up.
Okay. Anyway, here I am, a little boy, young boy, and I'm pulling up a big fish. I ain't got time to lap it back and forth across my line. I just pull it up. And it would be, but when I tried to put it back down, it would be full of knots because man. And that's why Granddad would fuss at me. He would fuss at me, well, you got to lap it across your lap. You got to lap it back and forth. I know that, yes, sir. But I got fish.
Did you want ice cream too?
No, I'm fine. The next day, James, like I said, Granddad never had a cooler. He had a trash can sitting in the middle of the rowboat. And that was the fish we would catch. If we would catch fish, it went in the trash can. All fish went in the trash can. The next day.
That's a good smelling trash can, I'll bet.
It didn't bother us, I can tell you that. we kept throwing fish in there. The next day, me and Granddad and Grandma, we're out in the backyard cleaning, these big fish. And we get 10 or 12 of them, cleaned up, set aside, and Granddaddy would tell me, get 2 fish. I get 2 fish, one in each hand. Go give them to Miss White. Miss White lived across the street. So I run across the street, I got 2 fish, knock on the door, Miss White comes. Miss White, Granddaddy sent you 2 fish. She'd take the fish, tell you, Granddaddy, thank you, Tom. Yes, ma'am. I come back, Granddaddy and Grandma still cleaning fish. Get 2 fish and carry to Miss Black. I take 2 fish, go knock on Miss Black's door. Miss Black come to the door. Miss Black, Granddaddy sent you 2 fish. Tell your Granddaddy I don't want no more fish. Yes, ma'am. But I would run all over.
You were the fish pusher.
I was the fish.
You were pushing that fish.
I was the fish pusher. All them old ladies knew if I come to the door, I had 2 fish.
One in each hand.
One in each hand. That's right.
There's a little
Boy,
crab
I
that's
used
not
to-
enough for you.
Soft shell crabs. I'd go where the Berkeley Bridge is at right now. It won't there. Tide would go out, and there'd be these mud flats. Each one of them mud flats had, I mean, it was puddles of water all out there. Me and Bill Baker. 'Cause Bill was, he was an influence on me, because he was a river rat,
Oh,
and I
okay.
used to tag down right behind him.
He was older.
Yeah, Bill Baker. But anyway, me and Bill would go down to the river and walk out there in that mud, and that silt, and that muddy mess might be waist deep.
No.
Oh, yeah. And we'd walk, tromp through that mess and go up to those puddles, and we'd have a stick, and stick that stick in there. And if it said clunk, 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 that was a hard shell crab in there. You didn't want to stick your hand in there. But if you stick that stick in there and it said, like that, it'd be a soft shell crab, and you could reach right in there with your hand, pick that soft shell crab up. We could get, 8 or 10 crabs in the morning's time. And Mama liked soft shell crab.
Oh yeah, she loved them.
Mama, we'd bring some home to her, give some to Grandmama, give some to Grandma Baker. One day we were out there on a raft, and the tide went out, and we were stuck about 100 yards from shore.
Oh no.
And we sit there for about an hour, me and Bill on the raft. Well, if we wait till the tide comes in, that'd be 12 hours. We can't do that. So
Because then your mama would have known you were at the river.
yeah, then Mama would go out to the river. She done told me that. Don't you go to the river. I ain't going to the river, Mama. And we come through that
But
mud.
She put up with a lot.
I know you did. And we fought through that mud, and we laid on top of it, and we tried to swim, and I mean, you can't go nowhere in the mud. Me and Bill. And we were nasty from the top of our head to the bottom of our toes. I ain't going home.
Oh
You were gonna
yeah.
get in trouble.
Yeah, you know you
Where
smell
we go?
good.
We went to Grandma
Grandma's.
Baker. We went to Grandma Baker's house. Grandma Baker, you boys ain't coming into my house. The hose is out in the backyard.
Oh, well, at least she gave you a hose to wash off with, huh?
We had a hose down back there, so we blowed each other off, got halfway clean. Mama knew I'd been to the river on the house and you.
Because you
like
Yeah,
smell.
you smell like the river.
Boy, this is good pie.
So
Good.
when Dad's dad died, and you probably heard this story, but Nanny said that he was
At the church?
at the church.
Yeah.
He said the preacher was. They had the funeral, and I don't know why you were in such a hurry. I can't remember what she said,
He
but
was 5.
yeah, because you were 5. But the preacher was praying.
Oh, yeah.
Dad was sitting there trying to be patient, but he had stuff to do. He had somewhere he needed to go. He had to go. He had to play or something. And the preacher was praying so long, and it was real hard when you're 5 to sit there. And he said that. And he said, just out of the blue, this little voice says, "Say amen." Everybody's got their head bowed all of a sudden. Say amen.
Mama said I said it twice. And she said I finally thought, well, maybe Tommy's had enough. So I reached over and put my hand over his mouth. Oh, yeah, she used to like to tell that one.
I mean, come on now. Look at your daddy's funeral. Say amen.
Yeah, we've been there long
It's
enough.
been long enough.
Well, the preacher said he was family friend. He ate Sunday dinner with us a lot. I ain't seen it every Sunday, but every other
A lot.
Sunday he was eating whatever Mama had in that big pot. He was eating it with us.
The big pot that I got.
It may be, honey. It may
That
be the
pot's been
same
around
pot.
forever.
Because she could make a pot full of something, and that was.
Uh-huh.
A lot of times we had chicken on Sunday though, so that was a special day.
Mhm.
'Cause I
Chicken dumplings and
chicken, whatever. Because the general store was down the corner. And I would go down there and tell Martin, the Jewish fellow, that Mama wants a chicken. He'd go out back. I mean, these live chickens now. He'd go out back and stick his hand in the cage. And I'd always say, make sure it's a big fat one.
she wanted fat.
Big fat chicken. And Martin, he would take that chicken, cut the head off, and in 10 minutes he'd have it plucked and cut and everything else and wrapped and give it to me. Yeah. I'd carry it home to Mama.
So you didn't have to watch it run around with the head
No,
off.
I don't know. Martin, I don't know if he did it with the colored fellow that what they did it with. I don't remember that. But that chicken would be clean. And fella.
And ready for Sunday dinner.
And ready for Mama to cook it.
Did she cook the feet too?
Everything went in the pot.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes I see the chicken feet at the I see them in the grocery store sometimes, but they're a delicacy at the dog store. They do. Yes, you can get yourself a dried chicken claw.
Tell them what Rosie got the other day.
Oh, Rosie. We took Rosie to the store because she's been real sad since Cassie's been gone. She's been very just blue.
Just stares. Just sits there like this and stares.
Because she didn't have a buddy.
Well, I think she misses Cassie Cinnamon. She don't have a clue. She still acts like she's just... But Rosie been very sad. So we took her to the pet store with us and get her out of the house. She went down the aisle and grabbed because why not have your dog treats this high
On the
from the
floor,
ground so
right.
the dogs can just go help
Right.
themselves. She got a freaking cod skin.
Tom, I thought it was a snake.
It was this long.
She come around the corner
Is this
with
wide?
this dried snake with a piece of cardboard and a price tag on it, and I'm
And she
like,
was so
everything
happy.
in this store, and you grab a dead snake.
It looked like a snake, but it was cod skin. So then, of course, since she got one, we said, well, we got to get 2 more.
I mean, she grabbed it out. She's never done that before. Just grabbed something. And she literally just like 2
She
steps
was
forward
like,
and grabbed it
"I'll
and
take
looked up
this."
at us with this big smile, like, look what I got. So we got 2 more,
It
Yeah.
caught her attention.
and then
We took
and,
them cods home and them little dried cod skin things.
The house stunk for a full day.
It was so stinky.
So why didn't you put them outside on the deck and say, you have to eat these outside?
Yeah,
I didn't even think about it.
we just, yeah. But Cinnamon, it stunk so bad, Cinnamon wouldn't even eat hers.
Oh, man.
Picky.
She's not either. She eats everything, but she would not eat that cod skin. She had it next to her in the bed. And she was sitting there like,
Maybe you'll go away from sleep.
Apollo's in the bathroom, so now the bathroom smells like fish. And Rosie, she's in the back room in his office, but Cinnamon I finally took it and just put it up on the counter. eventually we'll give it to another dog somewhere
Outside.
Right.
Oh, it was the worst. I was like, of all the things, I mean, there's every pork product known to mankind,
Right, on the shelf.
dried out, ready for you to chew on, and you pick a fish skin. Well, that's better than the freaking, what are they called? The bull, they're bull penises. I don't know
Yes.
what they call them. They call them.
Yeah, I don't know why the dogs love them so much, but they
But
do.
they're just long penises, and they're dried out, so they're only about this big around. But they smell like you would imagine a dried out penis would smell like.
That's pretty gross.
They're so disgusting. I brought one home. Oh man, they love them things too. It just makes no sense to me. They smell so bad.
That's the reason they so good.
I know. And they cost, and they're like $10 for one. I mean, they're so expensive. James told me I can't bring any more home. No, they smell real bad.
They do smell.
They do smell, but they're bad.
Going back to Berkeley. Grandma Baker. And I told her, just tell me to shut up. We raised chickens in the backyard in Berkeley. I always had 25, 30 chickens. I always had 2 or 3 turkeys running around the backyard.
Did you have a 40-pound one?
No, we didn't. You got my mind that went after I fell. But anyway, Robert Lee, one Sunday afternoon, Grandma Baker was over at the house, and he'd had a few Budweisers, probably a few too many.
That's
Anyway.
Aunt Bert's dad.
He tells Grandma Baker, Minnie, you kill them chickens and you can have half of them. That's what he told her.
All the chickens?
Yeah, all the chickens. Well, he didn't specify. He told her if she killed the chickens, she could have half of them. So Mom said the next day, Grandma Baker was over at the house out in the backyard. I mean, she was wringing chicken necks, and she had the water boiling in the backyard. She was dunking chickens and plucking.
That must have been a sight.
I mean, it just sounds like a massacre.
It was.
A chicken massacre in the
It
backyard.
was. That's what it was. But anyway, Mama said Grandma was out in the backyard all day long, killing chickens and dunking them in the boiling water and plucking feathers and had them lined up on the clothesline, hanging up.
Oh my gosh.
Grandma Baker killed every chicken that was in the backyard. Oh no. Mama said Robert Lee came home. I said he went out in the backyard to feed the chickens. There ain't no chickens in the backyard. And he come in the house and he asked, Mary, where's all the chickens? Mama said, Robert, don't you remember you told Mama if she killed a chicken, she could have half of them? Well, she killed the chickens.
Oh my gosh.
He didn't even remember. He was drunk.
Who were drunk.
But Grandma said she killed all the chickens.
She
But
was
she
smart.
probably knew it, like, he's gonna be pissed tomorrow.
I'm gonna take advantage of this drunk fool.
Mama said that was her mama, James. Mama was over here early in the morning, boy. She worked all day out there killing chickens, but she